Thank you for participating in the Humane Summit, a virtual speaker series brought to you by the Humane Education Coalition. This session is sponsored by the Griffin Press and the Humane Society of the United States. We are grateful for your attendance today for Lisbet Chiriboga's speaker session, Strategies for Building Relationships with School Communities. Lisbet is the program strategist for TeachKind, the Humane Education Division at PETA. She was a classroom teacher for 12 years and has received awards for her teaching, including being a semifinalist in the New York City Teacher Excellence Awards. This was due in large part to her work in humane education. At this time, I will pass things over to our speaker, Lisbet Chiriboga.
Hello, it's a real pleasure to be part of this summit. There's such a wealth of information being presented here, and it's just so exciting because it will really help people around the world implement humane education in their own communities. Here at TeachKind, we help educators of all kinds, those who work in traditional schools and even homeschoolers. We help them promote kindness and compassion for animals. And we do this by providing free lesson plans, materials, advice, classroom presentations, online resources, a teacher workshop program, and a whole lot more. And all our materials and resources are free. We look at things this way. A teacher has an impact on hundreds, sometimes thousands of students over the course of his or her career. So for every teacher we reach, the impact on the next generation is multiplied many times over. Today, I'd like to discuss how to demonstrate to schools the need for and the importance of humane education in schools. It's helpful to present the rationale logically and explicitly when talking to schools, and always keep in mind how humane education aligns with the school's existing goal of educating children. You always want to meet schools where they are. First, determine what legal mandates exist in your region that require teaching kindness to animals. Some states, such as California, Florida, and New York, have specific provisions in their education laws that mandate teaching kindness to animals. For example, California mandates teaching about the humane treatment of living creatures. Florida's required instruction includes kindness to animals. And New York State requires all elementary schools to provide instruction in the humane treatment and protection of animals. But many educators in those states are not aware of these laws. So it's up to you as a humane educator to be aware of these mandates and to acquaint schools with this information and help them be mindful of and accountable to these mandates. Additionally, 18 states legally mandate character education, while the remaining states support character education efforts without any legislation. And you can find a listing of all these types of laws on the TeachKind website at teachkind.org/charactered. Now, character education is important here because it involves teaching children to understand, care about, and act on core ethical values, such as respect for others, justice, responsibility for self and others. So teaching kindness to animals should be a natural component of these efforts. But unfortunately, most of the time, animals are not part of the conversation and are not even considered in terms of character building efforts in schools. Throughout my entire teaching career, I've seen how incorporating compassion for animals into the curriculum can foster prosocial behavior. And this type of behavior is very important to school leaders due to the prevalence of bullying and violence. I've seen apathetic students with difficult behavioral issues become the greatest protectors of animals, and this inspired them to have more empathy for their peers. I remember one year I had a kindergartner who had a very tough home life. His father had been incarcerated. His mother was away a lot. So he took his frustrations out on the other kids. But his natural love for animals shined through his tough exterior. I remember once he had the whole class watching and protecting an army of ants at a school picnic. And he would do the same thing for the pigeons at recess. I even gave him an award at the end of the school year for being a great animal protector. So when he would have problems with the other students, I would remind him that that same compassion that he felt for animals could carry over to having compassion for his peers. And even at that young age, he started to get it. Now, it's no surprise to educators that children love animals. They see evidence of this all the time working with animals. But you need to be explicit when explaining to schools how teaching kindness to animals can be used as a vehicle for character development. Don't expect school educators to connect the dots here on their own. You need to show them how teaching kindness to animals connects to character education, how it connects to fostering prosocial behavior in the classroom, and how it can bolster the anti-bullying programs they already have in place in schools. This will get their attention. Next, I'd like to ask you to close your eyes for a moment and think of your animal companion at home or any other animal who's had a big impact on you. Now open your eyes. Did you have any warm and tingly feelings when thinking about an animal? Many people do, and I know I do. But it's even okay if you didn't. The important thing here is to recognize that children have these types of feelings when talking about animals. And that's why it's a great motivation for learning in the classroom. So the good news is you can foster prosocial and empathic behavior while simultaneously meeting rigorous academic standards. I've seen reluctant readers turn into voracious ones after learning about the plight of animals. One year I had an after-school animal club with a 4th grader who hated reading. She avoided it at all costs. She was very frustrated because her skills were below grade level. But once she found out that dogs, cats, elephants, and other animals were suffering and needed help, she became so motivated to learn more. She couldn't get her hands on enough books after that. Her teacher was so thrilled with this development that she would allow the student to come to my classroom during the school day just to show me what new books she had found in her classroom library about animals. And this was thrilling for me to see because as teachers, we know that in order for children to develop their reading skills, they need to practice reading. And if they don't, they'll just fall further behind. So I'm very happy to report that in this case, like many others I've seen, the student started to improve in her reading and writing skills, and this was due in large part to her motivation to help animals. Since children have a natural affinity for animals, any curriculum that incorporates animal issues will generate high interest from students. But then if you add a component on how to help and protect animals, you will watch students' motivation increase even more. And when students are motivated, the conditions are ideal for them to practice reading, writing, and other skills that involve the animal issue being discussed. I'm going to discuss how there's an epidemic going on that isn't often talked about. When I do trainings, while I find that many educators have heard of a few incidents in their own communities where children have abused animals, they're not aware that this is happening in epidemic proportions around the country. Every week, PETA hears disturbing reports about children and teens who have allegedly abused animals. I'm going to give you just a few examples of some incidents that happened in 2018 alone. A teen in New York reportedly posted a Snapchat video of himself shoving a cat into a toilet, closing the lid, and flushing. A 16-year-old girl in Tennessee was charged with felony cruelty to animals after allegedly beating her boyfriend's 3-month-old puppy to death. Teenagers in Georgia reportedly beat a mother possum and one of her babies to death with a baseball bat, used a mixture of ammonia and bleach to kill the 3 other babies, then posted the video on Snapchat. and 2 teen girls in Texas were arrested after allegedly stabbing, dismembering, and dissecting a kitten and then posting the video of the incident on Snapchat. Something to note in this particular case is that this school district where the girls lived dissects cats in the classroom. Countless more incidents go unreported. TeachKind has been documenting these types of reported incidents since 2013. And you can find descriptions of additional ones along with their links to their news reports on the TeachKind website at teachkind.org/epidemic. Now, I bring up these gruesome incidents to drive home the fact that this is a widespread problem that needs to be addressed, and humane education can play a role here. Sharing this information with the schools that you work with can help them understand that humane education is not just a feel-good program. It's an urgent need that is not adequately being addressed in schools. You can frame things like this. If we as educators know that the link between animal abuse and interpersonal violence has been well documented by the FBI, and that young people who abuse animals often go on to commit violence against humans, then we can focus on how the opposite of this truth about the epidemic is also true. When we foster a child's empathy for animals, they demonstrate more empathy for their peers. And I've seen this firsthand throughout my entire teaching career. TeachKind has a great empathy building program called Share the World that we offer for free to elementary schools and teachers. It focuses on the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Following this simple concept in our relationships with humans and other animals has the power to transform how children view all living beings. The Share the World kit includes an inspiring video with fascinating animal footage, as well as thought-provoking reading and writing activities. And we consistently receive glowing feedback from educators who implement the Share the World program in their own classrooms. And many teachers tell us it's also a great springboard for classroom discussions on compassionate behavior in general. And when I was a classroom teacher and I used Share the World in my classroom, I saw all of this as well. If you discuss following the golden rule, when, for instance, an injured bird has fallen onto a busy sidewalk, or a neglected dog is chained up outside every day, you give children a safe space to think about these types of situations. They may see people ignore these types of situations in their daily life, and they may not have good role models for compassionate behavior. So when you give them a different perspective that focuses on animals' feelings, and you let them know it's okay for them to express their emotions, you really tap into and open up their capacity for empathy, even when they seem hardened, because children are naturally attuned to animals. Compassionate behavior must be consistently reinforced, and discussing ways to interact with others in different situations gives students the opportunity to figure things out for themselves and envision how they should act. Then when they're faced with these types of situations in real life, they'll be able to summon up their own knowledge to determine the most compassionate action to take. And Share the World gives examples of many types of scenarios to help kids exercise their empathy muscle in this way. And school districts are very open to using the materials because the video and the activities are age appropriate and engaging, as well as visually appealing. They're easily integrated into English language arts, social studies, science curricula. And when we offer free Share the World kits to teachers and they see the high quality of the materials, they're very receptive to using this resource in their classroom. The whole video is 23 minutes long, but here's a short trailer to give you just a little taste of what it looks like.
In this video, We're going to show you how to follow the golden rule with animals. We're also going to share some fascinating things about animals that you might not know.
The Share the World reading and writing activities are broken up into 3 sections, with the golden rule as a theme throughout. The activities in the Animals Are Like Us section focus on the similarities between humans and animals and on compassionate responses to encountering animals in distress, such as the scenario where many people hurry past an injured bird who's fallen onto a busy sidewalk. And it asks the students to think about whether this is honoring the golden rule and what they would do instead. There are many children who don't have good role models for how to regulate their emotions or how to interact with others. And since children are naturally attuned to animals, these activities really help them learn how to navigate different types of situations. The Animals Are Amazing section activities inspire respect and reverence for all the living beings with whom we share the planet. And it provides really compelling facts, such as how cows form a protective circle around their baby calves when there's rough weather or danger threatens them. The How You Can Save Animals section activities focus on having students think about and consider the needs and feelings of the animal companions they share their home with. And it also helps them to discover how attitudes towards animals have changed over time. The Share the World video has multiple places where a teacher can pause for discussion, and questions are displayed on the screen after each segment. The video really scaffolds student learning because it asks the students to think about the ways animals are being treated in different situations, and it really has them consider how they would feel in the animal's place. So by the time the question, how would you feel if you were being bullied, is posed, students have exercised their empathy muscle multiple times and are primed to answer. The Share the World goes beyond just teaching about what animals eat or what their natural habitat is. The activities encourage children to think about how animals are treated and consider how they would feel in an animal's place. This type of perspective taking helps build empathy. And teachers' guides are included with the grades K-2 and 3-5 kits, and along with answer guides and lots of information for how to use the activities. So one thing you can do is reach out to schools and offer them free Share the World kits that we'd be happy to send to you. And make sure to let them know that the activities are age appropriate and they address Common Core standards. They can enhance existing anti-bullying programs that the school already has in place and are easily integrated into English language arts, social studies, and science classes. Share the World can also easily be used by outside educators as a supplemental program after school or on Saturdays. You can play different segments of the video and then do the accompanying activities with students. Now, since units on animals are typically already part of the elementary curriculum, they represent very good opportunities to integrate lessons on empathy. TeachKind has a lot of additional materials on our website that can help with this. I would suggest contacting science teachers in your local area and asking them what units on animals they'll be working on throughout the school year. These units usually include very basic characteristics about animals, such as what they eat and what their natural habitats are. You can offer them something more valuable and additional by providing information about the plight of those animals and how to help them. This will foster empathy in students towards the animals that are being studied. This way, you're connecting to the existing curriculum and offering the school something additional that's typically not included in their program. Also, many schools still take their students on field trips to see captive animals in marine parks, circuses, and roadside zoos. You can help them understand that this sends a mixed message to students when you teach them about the natural behaviors of wild animals in the classroom, but then bring them to see those same wild animals in captive environments where they can't engage in that natural behavior. You can use TeachKind's resource on virtual field trips to show them how to take a humane trip and see those animals in the wild without disturbing them. And you can find that on the teachkind.org website. Another idea would be to create a literacy-based program where you read humane books aloud to children. And you can use TeachKind's list of humane books that we've already evaluated for content, and then create a hands-on activity that goes along with the theme of the book and reinforces the message of the book. And I'll give you a few examples of this that you can download right from the TeachKind website for free. Hobbs Goes Home is a true story about a sweet, sweet dog who overcomes adversity and eventually finds a loving home. The empathy building activity that you see on the right is a cube that students can roll like dice. And it helps them practice recognizing their own emotions as well as in animals. This creates a good opportunity to discuss with students the idea that being able to recognize our own emotions can help us have more control over how we feel and act toward other humans and animals. Now, have you heard of Esther the Wonder Pig? She is a social media sensation. So if you have not heard of Esther, I suggest you look her up on Facebook because you will not be disappointed. The Adventures of Esther the Wonder Pig is a true story about two people who adopt a piglet who grows much bigger than they anticipated. She gets into a lot of mischief because of her size, but they accept and love her anyway. The book recounts real adventures that Esther had while growing up and fosters empathy for others who are different. Now, some humans look at pigs as faceless objects without a story and without a name, and that just get turned into food. But they're fascinating individuals, and Esther's story helps demonstrate this. The empathy building activity to go along with the book that we've created includes finger puppets and sequencing cards so that children can tell Esther's story again and again. We also help educators rethink the language they use when talking about animals, so as to instill the notion in students that animals are sentient individuals that should always be regarded and referred to as such, because animals are someone, not something. We promote the use of pronouns such as she and he when talking about animals instead of using the word it. And you can visit teachkind.org to find a fun way to create your own it jar to help you and your students kick the habit of calling animals it. Additionally, we know that our standards regarding the acceptable treatment of others is conveyed through our language, and that our words have the power to influence those around us. There are many everyday phrases such as beat a dead horse, feed or kill two birds with one stone that may seem harmless, but they send mixed signals to young people about our relationship with animals, and they can even normalize abuse. So teaching students to use animal-friendly language such as feed a fed horse or feed two birds with one stone can help cultivate positive relationships with among all living beings. And it's also a lot of fun and very engaging for students in the classroom when you use this. And we offer a whole poster set of animal-friendly idioms on the TeachKind website for free. We also encourage educators to keep in mind that you do not need to bring live animals into a school in order to engage kids. The most important thing is to teach students the realities that face animals today and how to help and protect them. This is what will engage students and empower them to stay engaged in the long run. So remember, the key to building a relationship with a school is to focus on ways that your program and materials align with the school's existing goals. Inform school administrators about legal mandates for humane education and explain how you can help them comply with those requirements. Be explicit about the ability of your program to motivate students academically and foster prosocial behavior. And help them see the urgency of this need by informing them about the epidemic of youth violence against animals. Familiarize yourself with TeachKind's resources. Remember that all our materials are free and can help you create a program or supplement your existing program. You can always contact me at lisbetc@teachkind.org if you have any questions about working with schools. Thank you so much for allowing me to present here today, and enjoy the rest of the summit.
This concludes our speaker session. Thank you so much for joining us. You can learn more here or by clicking the resource links in the summit. We hope you've enjoyed this speaker session and that you'll join us for another one soon. Please consider making a donation to the Humane Education Coalition to help us continue providing programs and events like the Humane Summit. We rely on your support to help create a more compassionate, just, and sustainable future through education. Visit hecoalition.org/give to contribute today. Thanks again.